We're talking about spiritual bypassing. We're talking about what can we do from an understanding of the deeper Vedic wisdom that came inbuilt with an idea that human beings can bypass. And so how not to bypass, how not to develop a shadow during our spiritual quest, but actually make authentic leaps and, really become comfortable with life in all its colors, the darkness, the light, and the in-betweens. One example that I gave in a previous session was how the gods and goddesses are embodiment of peace and abundance and beauty and fertility, but they also hold weapons because they can be violent if need be. But their violence is not the violence of lust, the violence of selfishness, the violence of ego. They are violent. They are not violent themselves. They can resort to violent means for dharma. So there is a dharmic violence. There is, and they will do what it takes. They might prevent it. It might be the last resort. But if it is the last resort, then they will not hesitate back. In the Mahabharata, in the Bhagavad Gita, we have a story of a character called Arjuna, who has to go to war against, unfortunately, his own family members who have not, been worthy of really being his family members. They have connived against him. His cousins have stolen his kingdom from him. They have humiliated his wife in public. All kinds of things have happened, and so the war is going to happen. And Arjuna asks his teacher Krishna that, what should I do? I don't really want to go to war with them. And Krishna says, well, we have, Krishna is God incarnate, Vishnu incarnate, and Krishna says we have exhausted all other ways. And the only way to restore balance to these people's consciousness, our life and humanity, is now to go to war. And Lord Krishna teaches 4 ways of dealing with conflicting situations. Not just, let's think positive thoughts. Let's just chant Om. Let's just imagine a light. It's not like that. And he said, the first way to handle conflict with family members, relationships, anywhere in the world is that it is called Sama Dana Bheda Danda. Sama means in a friendly way. Talk it out. Gods are not teaching us violence. They are teaching us friendship, accommodation, hearing each other out. Beautiful, positive. Sama. The next one is dana. Sometimes it is popularly known as dhamma, but it is dana. Dana means, okay, the person may or may not deserve something from you, but you're generous. So you give another person a chance. You dan, you give. Okay. But you're doing it consciously, not because you're scripted. I must always give. No. You have tried a mutual positivity. Now you're gifting. Okay. I understand that. You speak in a tone that is not acceptable to me, but I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I'll give you another chance. Because I understand that you come from a background where people screamed in your family all the time. That's why you scream, so I'll let it go. I'll accommodate you. But then we don't just go on accommodating for the rest of the life and then spend all your money buying books on codependence. The next one is if the person doesn't lift their end of the bargain, because it's a mutual thing. You also deserve love and respect. At that point, the third intervention is called bheda. Separate yourself from that person. If not physically, emotionally. Say, I can only spend 10 minutes of my time with you when you are in a good space. I will not spend the other time with you. I have to sit with my teacher satsang. I have to go for a walk. I'm going for a dance session. Lead your own life. Bheda, separate. And finally, when even that doesn't end and the person is coming and every time you turn around they're screaming at you, you have to do danda, punish them. You might have to pick up the 911 in our case. You won't pick up a bullet and you won't pick up a bow and arrow and shoot them, but you're going to then say enough, or you might. So this is called danda. Do you like it? It's so progressive. And doing all of this is spiritual because you're conscious throughout it. You're exercising your choices. You're not just scripted in believing some, what you said, nuggets of spirituality, and then trying to live up to that spiritual resume, that did I uphold that nugget or not. We have to talk a little bit about teachers who give nuggets. They don't go deeper into the teaching, so they make nuggets and give it to you, and that's all you have is nuggets to use. And we also have to talk about students who don't want to make time for teachers who are giving the deeper teachings. Nowadays, someone like me who likes to teach deeply, I am available. Students are not available. They don't want to learn deeply. I'm not talking about you and you. I'm talking about generally. Generally, people just want a superficial experience with spirituality. They generally want to pick and choose. Therefore, the deep teaching is not possible. Otherwise, one can understand that, oh, part of my spiritual divinity is to be in my wholeness, to know all my choices, to bring out the easy, friendly, positive ones, but to keep at the back end the less positive ones. But my intention is never to hurt the person. My intention is never to be mean. That's your spirituality. So therefore, absolute beliefs were taught by certain religions, teachers, but in the pure Vedic tradition, the bigger truth is about right judgment, right decision, right examination, and what is reality versus what we have imagined. So this is one thing. So the very knowledge as one solution can be that one, you should understand that I don't want to live my spiritual journey from a handful of feel-good, pithy statements and teachings. I want to live a fierce, bold, passionate, beautiful, peaceful, judicious, smart person. And I don't want to be so predictable either. I want to be the person that I need to be in a given situation. If you are going to treat me with respect, first up, I will treat you with respect. If you show some disrespect, second up, I might accommodate you a little bit thinking you have a bad day. Third up, if you go on being disrespectful to me, I shall avoid you. I may not even show up at the place where you are showing up if you are disrespectful. I will definitely not invite you to my Diwali party. Number 4. Number 4. If you continue to be disrespectful, my spiritual choice may not be disrespectful to you, but I might write you an open letter. I might talk to a lawyer. See, what are my 21st century options? I might confront you peacefully. Now, you can call me violent for confronting you. That's okay. But my inner being will feel very comfortable. How is the shadow created is a very important thing. When we go on behaving in a certain way that we have concluded we should behave because we are spiritual, then all the other sets of emotions and feelings that don't match this prefabricated spiritual personality get pushed away into a basket which becomes the shadow. The shadow in Sanskrit is known as Chaya. So what is born is a Chaya Jiva. It is not a Jiva Atma, we all are only a minuscule part of our spiritual totality known as Atma, and that human being is known as Jiva. But when that jiva is only living in your mind, it's a fabricated personality, it is a chaya jiva. This chaya lives, eats, opines, thinks, behaves, copulates, judges, prays, and even dies believing what it believes. And those beliefs never get a reality check. And this chaya, this shadow self, goes to the spiritual teacher's satsang. This shadow self judiciously picks things from the teacher's satsang to match whatever it already believes in. Otherwise, it drops the teacher and finds another teacher, or another book, or another course to create its own version of spirituality. So it is not even your ego, it is a marooned part of your ego. It is not a healthy part of your ego, but it gains strength, and it believes sometimes that it's enlightened, and then it also becomes an enlightened guru at times. It is true. And you will never find this enlightened guru ever telling you about their darkness, about their frailties. It will almost be like, well, I was depressed for so long, and then one day it all went away, and here I am. The light went on, boom. There is no effort at integrating anything. That's why we have heard, I don't want to take names, of teachers who have, for example, there was a very famous teacher of non-duality, but his own teacher from India mentioned that, well, this teacher had only really studied with me for 25 hours. And then when he came back from India, he became the guru of non-duality in the world. But who became the guru was the shadow. Finally, his own students confronted him. And then this guru had to ultimately write an apology letter, and now it seems that person is back with a whole new website, new offerings, new retreats, new teachings, new courses, and new inventions in non-duality. So this is what happens when the shadow can sometimes become almost impervious to any feedback, saying, wait, there seems to be something not right in your superhumanhood. And when we adulate such teachers, they are also giving us those little confused statements, and we take them home. We ourselves become shadows. So we're doing this to ourselves. I gave one example of a Western teacher. I have countless Indian teachers also who may be operating from the shadow. One way you can know if the teacher's self and shadow are integrated is if they are honest about their past, about their pitfalls, about their life. Probably that Western teacher, when he wrote an apology letter to his students and posted it on his website, probably he was integrating his shadow and his truth at that time. So I have respect reading about that, okay, it all came to a good end, but some die belligerent, believing the shadow. But that is why so many of these teachers then write things like, awakening is exhausting. My insanity didn't end with awakening. So all these contradictory statements, confusing spirituality, especially the field of non-duality, because they were not awake to begin with. And simply a high moment in a meditation or a pranayam or a light here or there, which we experience, Patanjali from the Yoga Sutras has openly said that don't believe in these things. These things happen when you go within, but don't believe them. But it is in the yoga community where we maximally see people advertise all these things, as if that is the validation for their awakening. And probably when teachers like myself don't talk about bells ringing and aroma floating around me and all those things, teachers like me feel mundane to some people. But the reality is, if you want to know if you are with a teacher who's teaching from their shadow or their truth, which includes some of their shadow, then they will be real. It's not so hard to know. I have a beautiful story to share with you about how The Vedas appreciate teachers who come from the shadow. So we have an ancient rishi called Rishi Vishwamitra, who gave the most famous Vedic mantra called the Gayatri Mantra. And he started out his journey as an ambitious king. He was a king, not a spiritual teacher, student. He was a king. And his earlier life was filled with lust and ambition and competitiveness and desire to have it all, right down to wanting to murder another sage, known as Sage Vasishta. But despite all of this, he was also a yogi. And he kept trying to find out, meditate, look within, deal with his own shadow. Do you know that? So there was a part of him acting out. There was a part of him understanding that acting out. And gradually he was able to integrate both. And when he integrated both, he became a Brahma Rishi. He became a knower of truth and a celebrated author in the Rig Veda. So there is, if you can see, that even in the Rig Veda, we don't have a holier than thou attitude, that unless you're holy, unless you're virgin, unless you're celibate, unless you are a stickler for some of those things which are a checklist today for spirituality, you don't get to be a spiritual seer. Instead, it's like, are you authentic? Hey, Vishwamitra, did you look at your face and say, I'm done being lusty. I'm going to be truly divinely sexual. I'm done with being competitive. I'm going to achieve and let others achieve. I'm done with wanting to murder people. I'm murdering the darkness within me. Hey, you encountered you. You encountered your shadow. You brought it in. We celebrate you. You are revered. You are worshipped. And then this lost being gave the world the Gayatri Mantra. You chant it once, you feel more awakened. So don't give up on yourself if you had the shadow, but don't stay there. It's so beautiful how the ancient Upanishads actually have explained how this is formed. And they call it Shastra Vasana. Vasana means a compulsive, unconscious, subconscious drive. We all have it. We have it because we are separated from our true nature. So we have some vacuum and we try to fill it up. And there are three kinds of things we fill up this vacuum with. One is called body vasana or deha vasana, where we fill it up with things for the body. More clothes, more perfumes, more cosmetics, bigger sofa to sit on, more comfortable mattress to put your body on, just more things for the body. More sex for the body, more lovers for the body, bigger house to keep the body. It's all about the body. And we feel, I'm full. But no matter how much you fill the body up, and it's wearing the most expensive clothes, it might still feel something is not real because it's still a shadow. Then we go to the world vasana or loka vasana. In this, we fill us up, not maybe with the body. You might still be just wearing a black t-shirt and an old jeans. But you want to create wealth, name, fame. You want people to know you. You want contacts. You want the world to approve you, which includes your family. You want people to say, wow, look at you, what a good person you are. And wow, we're giving this person the social service award. And definitely, and so it's a vasana. It's not genuine. There are people who genuinely are helping. And then there are people who are in the vasana mode. And when you're in the vasana mode, you're in the shadow mode. Then there is the third vasana. And look at how foresighted the Vedic seers were. And they call it the spiritual vasana or the Shastra vasana. Apparently, even thousands of years ago, people would say, I'm not going to live like Vishwamitra did, deal with my stuff, process it. Do you know, he was very delayed in his enlightenment. He took the time he took, and so many times he had to start from scratch. His story goes like that. He's like, oh boy, I'm going to go back there and deal with my anger, deal with this, deal with that. So there was no, like, I sat down and I woke up. There's no such thing. So he is one of the most delayed seers, but such a role model for the rest of us, because it was authentic for him. He represents how human beings become seers. But for whole other people, what they do is they memorize pithy statements, they speak inspirational quotes, they chant mantras, they're teaching, they reduce everything down to the same thing like prana, chakra, tantra, mantra, dharma, karma, and it's all just down to those few things. And wait, you must do this kriya and that pranayam, and that's going to answer everything. So we pick up all these things and we create this whole being, or we create a whole being, and we parrot it again and again, and we teach it to others, and we recruit people to do what we are doing. Color therapy, rainbow therapy, hair therapy, bone therapy, this, that, small things, but it's a vasana. Sometimes you don't do anything and you shed a few tears, genuine tears, and that may be more spiritual. And it may do more for you than everything you have done in the last 20 years in the name of spirituality. It takes guts to be vulnerable with your own pain and to be vulnerable with another's pain. We meet somebody with pain and we tell them right away, you need to come to my Guruji. They'll fix you. And you need to do this therapy, and you need to chant that mantra. I also give mantras, and I'm also a healer. I'm just talking about that unconsciousness that makes us sign up for things blindly, believe in them, quote them, think of them, but don't let it saturate our being and descend deeper. So this is known as Shastravasana. In Shastravasana, you could be at the feet of a great spiritual teacher, and you could completely not be touched by their knowledge because the vasana is within you. Why are vasanas happening? The best way to counteract this unconscious vasana type behavior is the following. If you have vasanas, you have been up till now leading a life that is very driven by what you see. Close your eyes more often. Pull inside yourself, spend some quality time, even be bored. Dare to be bored. And then you will see that in that boredom, when you're not checking your phone, when you're not necessarily memorizing something to show somebody, you will find that you had to see something. You had to see some anger. Doesn't mean with anger you pick up a gun. That's not what I'm teaching. Please understand that. I'm not teaching violence. But you might need to feel that anger and then come to a conclusion of what do you need to do about the anger. Because anger, for example, is an emotion that wants to inform you of something. Every emotion has a purpose. I've taught a whole series. We should release those series at some time on genuine emotions. But there is this whole thing about positive emotions. Again, it's done such a spin on us. But what about the negative emotions? Is our creator cuckoo? Is retarded to create emotions like shame, fear, guilt? They have very therapeutic and spiritual purpose. Anger, when it comes up, often wants to inform us of some boundary transgression. Fear comes up so that we can protect ourselves. Guilt comes up so that we can clean up our act. Shame comes up. Not we're always shamed by others. Internal shame that comes up maybe when we are not acting from our highest intention. Everything has a purpose. So, but when you're quiet, when you're more inward, you have to dare to start befriending your silence, your solitude. You have to have a more inner life. Then you might be able to feel what you were meant to feel. What you have suppressed away. I shouldn't be feeling angry because spiritual people are not angry. Well, how about I say to you, spiritual people are a blank canvas and you never know what color is going to come on it. How do you like that definition? I like that definition. I don't want to be known as a good teacher, nice teacher, where everybody knows I'm neither good nor nice. I'm a teacher. Okay? And a teacher will show her cruelty or her niceness for the benefit of the student. I have picked up students and shown them the door outside, go away, go from my presence. And I have taken students and put them in my heart. That same student, when they awaken, come in my heart. For me, there is no set way of being. No, there should always be, hello, yes, Soumya, that's right. You are misbehaving with your children, but I'll keep smiling at you. I have a student sitting here. She's the mom of 4 beautiful children. And if she misbehaves with her children, I will tell her what it means to be a student of a teacher. I will show her the door. If she leaves her children to come sit with me, she has not come to sit with me. Her shadow has come here to sit with me. Because the authentic Soumya will come and sit with me only after her children are fully taken care of. She has come and sitting at my feet after many, many months. But what do many spiritual teachers say? Leave your family, leave your children. I will show you the door. Come stay with me, right? And donate on the side. Therefore, authentic journey is not so hard once we have these kind of conversations. Let's have some open conversations. Let's talk about it. Let's bring it out. And similarly, there is a need within you also to examine every teacher, including myself, and then examine your own intention. Who is coming to class? Am I coming here to hear only how to have positive experiences, good experiences, find my quick nirvana, or am I really coming into alignment with the totality? Why does the universe show a beautiful dawn, but then it shows a dusk also? It shows a bright morning, but it shows darkness also. It shows the lusty, beautiful, divine youth, and then it shows that same body wrinkled and leaking and smelling. That same child that everybody wanted to pick merely a few decades ago. When they are lying alone, dying, nobody wants to go and talk to them. Children leave their own parent, but for 1 or 2 child who may be with their parent. What is happening? Therefore, we have to understand that to be authentic is more important. To be real is more important. The Vedas, the Upanishads, especially the foremost teacher of non-duality, Shankaracharya, has given a 4-step process to ensure that you are not sleepwalking. I would like to talk to you about that when I come back. A little note once more on Adi Shankaracharya. He himself was a celibate and he started a celibate order. And there are 2 kinds of orders, Vedic orders in India. One is the householder order, where you get to not be a renunciate, which is where I come from. We are Grahastha sadhus. And then there is a celibate order, which Shankaracharya started in the non-dual Vedic path. And of course, that is why some people say, well, he was inspired by Buddha. Please understand, both paths are valid. What I want you to do is not confuse things. You may be someone, I may be someone who's right now in the householder mode. In a few years from now, I might want to be in a renunciate mode. Okay? And at that time, I might just get up from my place here in America and move to where I want to be more quiet, more alone, or disappear from the world. It's up to me. And there always have been those brave people. So I'm not denouncing Buddha or Shankaracharya. I'm just saying, look at your situation. Are you a householder? Then you have to live with values, but along with that, you have to discern when to apply what. And for you to study the Bhagavad Gita is very, very important, because it teaches, because we are all Arjunas in our own respective battles. the battle Arjuna was dealing with is an allegory for the battles we deal with in our lives. And if you are an absolute, you can have absolute values when you are ready for that. But what happens today is we go to India, we find a teacher, and we write, and we are living with, we have sexual partners, we have children, we have absolute values. It's all a bad mix. It's a tossed salad. There was a reason why there was defined lifestyles, defined obligations on them, and expectations of what level of which value you will uphold. Okay? We have my own great-grandfather, Shanti Prakash, he was a Vedic teacher, non-dual teacher. He was a Hindu saint also in Ayodhya. And he was, he lost his wife very early on. And right after delivering his son, my grandfather, Baba, he lost his mother at birth. So since then, my great-grandfather, or my great teacher, I should call him my great teacher, continued to remain celibate. Also, he went into the river shortly afterwards, the river Sarayu, and he had this experience that he was drowning. So he drowned. The river just came and took him to the bottom of the floor, and he stopped breathing, and he had an out-of-body experience. And he had this experience. When you're out of body, you can have any experience. So he had this experience that Divine Mother came to him as river goddess Sarayu and spoke to him. And he mentioned, he said, well, all these, it's fine, I'm totally ready, because when you've been studying the Vedas, you know life and death are two aspects of a eternal consciousness. But he said, but I have only received in life. I have not given back. So it's up to you, Mother. And the moment he expressed his desire to be a renunciate and to only give back, he saw that it doesn't happen like the river. He felt that, these are his experiences, that he was picked up and brought out. And he was unconscious for several hours, and people thought he will die, but he came back. Since then, what Baba did was he gave up all householder practices. What does that mean? Householders, you know, in India, they have a temple, they light the lamp, they light the incense, they wear certain colored clothes, and they celebrate festivals. My great teacher, he stopped lighting the lamp because he saw goddess everywhere. He didn't have to go to the temple. He only wore white clothes. He just stopped, like there was no woman in the house anyway. So whatever somebody gave him, he ate. He literally went home, took every piece of money he had, maybe like 30-40 rupees at that time, and gave it away. And he never kept any money. So he lived like a renunciate. He didn't want to touch money. He didn't want anything. So he just lived like a renunciate. So he could live like that. It was a choice he made. It's what's your choice? Then act accordingly. Don't confuse yourself. So when Bade Baba, when my great teacher, when it was time for him to leave, the body becomes a bit shriveled up and physically sick. Not big drama, but he became a bit sick. His son, which is my teacher, Baba, had a lot of knowledge of Ayurveda, and he said, Father, can I offer you these herbs? My great teacher only smiled. He said, I am totally in great place. I don't even want to extend this body. Similarly with my teacher, he helped people all his life as a householder, saint. But then towards the end of his life, he didn't consume the same herbs and he went smiling. So you see, it's your path. Where do you live? The relative value if you were a householder was, I have to stay alive for my wife, for my daughter, for my children, for my students, so I must consume these herbs. Absolute value is, it doesn't matter. Do you see? you can have clarity. What we have done is we've confused everything. And if we have absolute values without understanding the judiciousness, we will get very confused. Right when I come back, before we stop for questions, I am going to tell you about the 4 steps that you can take in your life to ensure that you are not bypassing. This is known as sadhana chatushtayam, and we will understand it quickly, more in terms of how you can apply it towards preventing or awakening from bypassing, and then learn to pass through your life.